evaluation on Wednesday, August 26, 2015. Has this meeting been regularly noticed?
Yes, sir.
Can you call the roll, please?
Tito?
Here.
Eliason?
Here.
Evans?
Here.
Garner?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Lumberger?
Here.
Olmsted?
Here.
Warren?
I guess we would do the Pledge of Allegiance next. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next thing is board administrative reports. Now, the board did meet for the annual superintendent evaluation. The summary that was created. The Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education met in closed session on Wednesday, August 5th, 2015 for the purpose of conducting the annual superintendent evaluation. 5 of the 7 members have served on the board for more than a year. The superintendent focused on 7 professional standards and 5 district goals. At that time, we reviewed the data collected from individual board members and came to the following conclusions. In the areas of personal qualities, community relations, educational leadership, business and finance, and strategic planning, we rate Mr. Mack strong. In the areas of relationships with the board, staff, and personnel, we rate Mr. Mack satisfactory. For the annual goals set by the superintendent and the board, the goals for the past year for examination of the literacy plan, oversight of the Oshkosh Area School District's strategic plan, and the successful rollout and evaluation of the teacher compensation model. Mr. Mack did an excellent job. For the goals, oversight of the Lakeside Addition and the development of the Pupil Services Strategic Plan, Mr. Mack did an outstanding job. Mr. Mack has the full support of the Board of Education for the Oshkosh Area School District. The board is delighted to award Mr. Mack with his bonus for attaining the annual goals as he has done each year of his service to this district. And here's our superintendent's report.
Yes. Good evening, and this is a wonderful busy time, but this is the last time the superintendent's report is as short as it is because the school activities are just getting underway. But before I begin, I'm going to turn over to Kelly Olmsted, who has the wonderful news of where we just came from, having watched parents and children walk, and grandparents come in, and sometimes just aunts and uncles coming along to visit Lakeside School. And you've had the experience both at noon and this afternoon.
Well, I went earlier today at noon and walked through, and it's amazing how much work they got done from noon until 4:30 today. It was, and there's signs of work in progress on quite a few rooms still, the media center and some other rooms. But the building, as a parent and seeing this, from being through this with my children there for 8 years, walking up to the building today at noon, I cried. It is gorgeous. The media center with the windows for the kids and how much light they're going to be able to get, it's just a wonderful area for learning. The rooms are big. There's big windows. It's all clean and newly painted. And then tonight we went with the kids for open house, and so many parents. I didn't see one parent without a smile on their face. Kids are running. They're all excited. All the staff was so excited. It was wonderful. It is a gorgeous building, and I can't wait for the public to be able to go see it later on this year. It's beautiful. It's really very happy with it. The kids were very happy too.
There are 2 major issues that just need to be completed yet. Is the installation in lockers, and one of the creative things that was done that lines were drawn on the wall showing where the lockers will be with the locker numbers that will be affixed to that locker, so one could envision the lockers. And we anticipate that within the first 3 weeks of September we should have those and be ready to go. We're anticipating that the flooring that can be installed over the newly poured concrete is a hopeful project for early October, but we're working on a plan for open house for all of the residents, both of the district, but certainly of the neighborhoods that are served by the school for about the second week of October. And we believe that's about the time frame. We actually did the open house with Oaklawn. Was a chance for the school to get up in operation foundation and to have everything in place. And we're trusting that we can do that, and we'll extend the invitation to the greater community and to have a rededication of that building at that time, because it's really a
beautiful.
totally changed world.
And the playground was beautiful. The
and the
bricks
play-
are out there already.
Yes.
It is. It's. Oh, it's gorgeous. I'm so happy.
So it's very pleased, and I'm so thankful for the board supporting the effort to undertake this project and the creative financing that we were using with TIF. And thank you to Sue and to Jim Fox for all the work that has been underway to make that happen. We've had wonderful cooperation and the merging of both the energy retrofit McKinstry project as well as the new addition. It would have been a much tougher look at that building had we not been doing the McKinstry retrofit project at the same time. And
Yeah,
what a joy
it's-
that is to see both together.
It's
So-
nice for the older section. They have all the new windows and new doors, and it's all painted. They did a fantastic job.
And the new heating system in each room,
Yes.
and
I got
casework.
People were saying that already. Oh, it's cool in here.
Right. No, it's just because it's cool outside.
Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah.
we did not put air conditioning
Yeah, right.
into the
That's just-
building,
I'm like,
so.
well, no, it's just that there's
no,
lots of windows, so lots of airflow.
Right, so, but there are a lot of pluses, and it is a real joy, and to have all those teachers smiling.
They
But
were.
I spent about an hour and 15 minutes watching parents come in, smiles on their faces, and children excited to see their classrooms. It's just great, so. Well, then I'll return to the issues at hand that we have reported in this 2-week period. Close to 90 Oshkosh Area School District middle school students had the opportunity to participate in Beginning Band Camp, 1-week program that consisted of instruction for 3 hours per day. Some of the important things students learned was how to assemble, how to handle their instrument properly, proper posture, as well as their first 5 notes. The camp also included some fun time for students to participate in a marshmallow dodge ball tournament and short practice. I hope the marshmallows stayed out of the instruments. Another outstanding music opportunity, Charles Bauer, who is a Merrill Middle School band director, spent his summer repairing an old Musser bell set from back in the 1960s. It will be used by students in the district for many years to come. Thank you to Charles for his work, time, and dedication to the district and its students, and we appreciate the restoration of that instrument. Congratulations to Andy Bogart, an Oshkosh Area School District student who is one of 18 to compete and receive a state youth apprenticeship certificate in the 2014-15 year and to complete the state's Skills USA competition, placing 4th in the state. Andy's success didn't stop there. As a result of this effort, Andy was recently accepted into the Adult Electrician Apprentice Program, working with Shea Electric, and the same company he worked with him on his Youth Apprentice program. Shea Electric was very complimentary of the program, school, and the opportunities to recruit such an excellent student for their organization. And I know from talking to their leadership, they were extremely proud of that opportunity to have that partnership with the school district. Also, congratulations to Merrill Middle School for receiving the PBIS School of Merit Award at a recent leadership conference. The staff at Merrill had worked hard over the past 3 years successfully to implement PBIS. Great job to Merrill Middle School. 35 5th through 8th grade students participated in the Oshkosh Area School District Summer Choir Camp this summer, where they learned songs, participated in singing technique, performed a concert for their families at the end of the camp. The group was fortunate to have 12 Oshkosh North High School students to help as counselors in the camp. Fun time was had by all. And now I'm going to call upon Beth Wyman, who has been doing tons of work in preparation for our, as we're referring to it at Oshkosh, strategic plan, Plan 2. And Beth is going to outline the activities that will be taking place over the next 4 to 5 months.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm the chairperson of Oshkosh for Education, and Oshkosh for Education is the watchdog for your strategic plan. In January of 2013, we held community focus groups, which gave us the information that we could use to develop the current strategic plan. It's hard to believe that we're almost at the end of that time. The time period was 2013 to 2016. So starting September 14th, we are going back to the community to get information that you can use for your next strategic plan. We want to gather information that will freshen up the plan. We want to celebrate with the community the milestones that have been met. And most important, we want to focus on the sustainability of the initial plan and the successes that we've had. It would be a mistake to completely start over and not keep in the forefront those items which have been accomplished, which have made us a better school district. So starting on September 14th, you can see that we are going to have 8 community listening sessions, and they will be held at all of the middle schools. We thought that spread out the distribution of people and areas. And we will also have 3 daytime community sessions at the Oshkosh Public Library, the Oshkosh Senior Center, and the UWO Welcome Center. We also added 2 sessions strictly for Oshkosh Area School District staff. They are the ones in the trenches of the strategic plan, and we wanted to hear from them. We wanted to hear their voice, and we also wanted to check perceptions of where they thought the strategic plan was, where it needs to go, and things we can do to help accomplish some of the goals that have not been met. It's really in the area of Goal 5 where we see those items that have been, I don't want to say have been lagging, but we haven't been able to accomplish, primarily in the area of communication, student retention, and student recruitment. And as we all know, those are the areas that will make a difference in the future in the financial health of our school district. So those are the areas we really want to hear about. We'll be partnering again with the UWO Business Success Center. So after September 24th, they will have all of our results, and they will start analyzing everything that we give back to them. And by October 10th, they will have the information back to us. We will work with Julie and Kim in putting together a piece for a community report, our annual report, which we do each year, and that will be October 22nd. It'll be held at the Waters at 5 o'clock, and we will invite the entire community, like we did last year, to hear the highlights of 2014 and also give them at least preliminary results of what we're finding from the strategic plan. I'm also happy to announce that our scribes for each one of the sessions will be students from Oshkosh North Communities Program and Oshkosh West Government Group. So we're really excited to bring them into the loop and bring them in on the ground floor. January and February, Oshkosh for Education Commission members will be visiting service groups, business groups, any other groups we can find, and get out the good word about the strategic plan. By then, you will have all written it, we will have the results, and we feel it's really important to go back to those service groups and business groups so we can form even more partnerships than we have already. You could see from the apprenticeship program, we've just started to get into the business area, and Patty Andreessen-Shue has done such a wonderful job, but we want to continue that further. At our last Oshkosh for Education meeting, we talked a lot about collaboration of branding Oshkosh, and that's something we'll be looking at further in Oshkosh for Education. It really is a very unique idea. I think we've been very successful in bringing the school district back into the community as a partner, but if we could now all become one in collaboration where we brand Oshkosh and all the little components, that would really be exciting. So we're hoping that that is something that we're able to do with the strategic plan.
I would just like to add how grateful I am, and 4 of us have been working, Julie and Kim and Dave and I, been working with Beth in proceeding through this process, and we are so grateful to have such outstanding community leadership and such caring about the future of the school district in Beth Wyman, and being able to make forward progress. It is a constant piece of help. Just today, Beth outlined in an extensive email, a whole bunch of next steps and outlining this process in detail, and we are continually being supported by Beth's outstanding work for the school district and the community. So with that, thank you so much,
Well,
Beth.
thank you, and you're lucky you didn't get my email today, because it would have gotten a little, you'd be here till 7 o'clock just
Right.
with this, so, good, thank you. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me. It's going to be a good process and a thorough process and a very transparent process, and we're very excited for all of the sessions. We have facilitators from Strategic Plan 1 that are coming back to do it, so they are experienced. They know what they're doing, and they also had experiences with the first one, so they're able, in their mind at least, to compare and contrast. So we think that that's very beneficial as well.
And
Still glad we went to Alabama?
Still glad we went to Alabama.
Yes. And one other issue I'm working on targeting and establishing candidates for a board committee to interview for the strategic planner, and we want to hold that after that 22nd of October meeting so that we don't taint the outcome of strategic plan, that process be completed through that with the reward to the community, and then build from that. So looking at the last week or so of October and the first 2 weeks of November is the target dates for the strategic planning, and be ready with a plan that the board then can act on in December, because that will be helpful then for the structure as we do second issue of the district for this year, is really tackling the issue of budget adjustment process with the framework and the guiding light of strategic plan in place as we do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
And that concludes the superintendent report.
That completes the superintendent report for this evening. The activities involved you see posted, but that volume will continue to grow as time goes on. And so, thank you very much.
Reports of other committees. Anybody? Barbara?
We had a meeting of the Policy and Governance Committee on Tuesday, August 18th. One of the first things we did was to approach the Neola policy approval process. And before you tonight, you have the results of that hard work that Neola has been involved in, as well as our own executive team. The Policy and Governance Committee agreed to have the full board review the first volume, which takes us through policies 4,000. And we want to review those at the September 16th Policy and Governance meeting, and then the second volume to be reviewed, and those are policies 5,000 to 9,000, for the October 14th Policy and Governance meeting, and then the full board would vote on the full set of the policies at the October 28th board meeting. Because there are changes in these policies that impact the current policies, we need to adopt everything at once. We can't do it piecemeal. But anyway, you have them tonight, and hopefully we'll find time in the next approximately month to review those. There was a report on the education media results from 2014 and 15. Back on May 20th, the committee had approved advertising through education media on a one-year trial basis, with Stan Mack reporting back to the committee on the results after the one-year period had ended. Stan reported that education media had no sales during the year, and it was unclear whether or not the company was still in business. So there will be no further need for updates, since advertising did not take place during the 14-15 school year. We also discussed the weapons policy. There are two policies related to Neola which conflicted with the current handbook, and that was brought to our attention by Mike Nault. Mike explained that as he had reviewed the Neola draft weapons policies and compared them to the handbook, he found inconsistencies. The committee decided that the handbook language would remain the same, while the Neola policies would have language updates to match that of the handbook. We also looked at Rule 223.31, which is retirement for administrators and administrative staff. Again, Mike Nault updated the committee regarding the Cadillac Plan excise tax and the language changes that would be required for the 223.31 rule to decrease the district's vulnerability to this tax in the future. The proposed language is that if you retire today, as a retiree, your plan would change along with the active employee plan design changes. This is referring to the health plan. So the committee agreed to move this rule forward to the full board for approval at tonight's meeting, and you have a staff report on that as well as a resolution. We also looked at Policy 220, the policy and rule regarding administrator hiring, and the Neola Policy 3120. This policy and rule were brought to the committee at the request of a board member to discuss potential updates. The current policy states that the rule must be followed, which is not typical of most other policies. And it names site councils and has other language that is no longer up to date. Mr. Nault informed the committee that Neola includes the administrative staff with professional staff hiring policies as one approach to hiring, and stated that the Neola Policy 3120 guidelines would be created during the second phase of the Neola updating process, taking into account these recommendations as well as new determinations moving forward. The committee decided this rule would be updated during the Neola guidelines creation and reflect current practices and procedures. We also set upcoming committee meeting dates, with the next one being September 16th. And we added a couple of future agenda items to look at. One was honorary diploma policy and health benefits for retirees.
And you said we should review the first.
The first volume
Okay.
by, let's see, September 16th is the next policy and governance
Okay.
meeting. And, yes.
May I just add, we
Please
would
do.
ask that if you had questions on a specific policy, if you would get them to Sherry, then that will form our agenda for the September policy and governance meeting of the items that need either clarification, review, or suggestions for alterations. And so if we do that, and then we do the second volume in the same manner for October, we should be then through with being able to bring the entire set to the board at the second board meeting of October.
Thank you, Dr. Herzog.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a? Allison?
The Facilities and Finance Committee met on August 20th, and we covered 3 topics. The first one was an alternative to a personal day for our staff. What we're experiencing is some pretty severe shortages in subs. We used to have about 250, that dropped to 150 last year, and now we're looking at maybe 75. So we're really, really struggling to find subs and then to be able to utilize them and for people to be able to take their personal days. And so a new system is being talked about, and one option would be that if there are teachers that don't take a personal day, that they will be financially compensated for that. Because we pay $120 per sub, and if we don't have to use those, that's in everybody's best interest. It's also in the students' best interest, less transitions for the kids. So that would cost us a total of about $18,000. So it was something that we brought up, something we're going to talk about some more, and then eventually bring that back to the board. I understand Mike's going to be talking to the teachers about that as well and see how they feel about it. A lot of teachers are not able to use their personal days because we just don't have subs to cover. And so now there would be a way to compensate them for that financially. The second topic was an update on the Oaklawn property. The Keenest property has now closed, so we officially own it. So we will be putting an official fence around it. And then we'll be demoing beginning in mid-September through mid-October. And in the meantime, Jim Fox will be working on potential uses for that land. And then the Lakeside update, which Stan already gave us, and Kelly as well. So that's it. The next meeting is September 24th at 8 a.m.
And may we just add, in that planning for next year, for the future use of the Keenest property, will be involving building principal and families there and the neighbors there as far as coming together with a plan that's there. Bearing in mind that the one project has been delayed there, and that's to create a utility building that would, for vehicles that contain gasoline that we of course can't have in the building, and we're working with that. And I've had discussion with Steve Eliason about our increasing that size slightly on that building that would allow for storage of both sailing equipment that we've acquired as well as cross-country skiing equipment, and might be a good dual use for that facility.
Sure you don't want to use that Quonset hut?
No, we don't want to use that Quonset hut. We would potentially injure all of our precious both sailing equipment and cross-country ski equipment. So,
Any other reports from committee chairs? Hearing none.
May I interject? I'd like to ask Dr. Gunlock to step forward and give you an update on the last night's meeting, and which was a follow-up to the June meeting with parents regarding our one-to-one initiative in Learning Without Limits, because I think the news is wonderful and good, and that we're continuing to educate parents along with our students and staff regarding that deployment that begins next week. So.
Thank you. Yes, as Stan said, we had our second Learning Without Limits Parent Information Night last night. Our first one, for a reminder, was June 3rd. We had about 110 people at the Kimball Auditorium on that evening. Last night's was at the Jesse Hooper Auditorium at Oshkosh North. We had, I didn't do an exact count, but I think we had somewhere between 75 and 100 people there in attendance, which was great. Typically what it is, it's an introduction done by Jackie Schleicher and Aaron Cole, and they talk a little bit about how excited they are for the initiative, and then I give the parents about 30 minutes of information that you've all seen regarding the initiative and all the steps we took to plan it. We go through a lot of frequently asked questions, and then they pepper me with questions for about an hour. And I outlast them in the end. So once all the questions are answered, we break for the evening. It was actually, I had a fantastic time last night. The questions were awesome. The parents, I couldn't be more happy about what's happening. They seem to be extremely excited. There were some specific categories of questions. Security was high on everybody's mind. So they were very happy to see the security initiatives we've put in place. They are really happy that we're putting in the ability for students to change their passwords and instituting some decent password management practices so kids can keep it together. They asked a lot about the devices. What really was interesting and what came up was one of their big questions was, what are we doing to support our teachers in all of this? They really realized the significant shift this is going to be, not only for them as parents, not only for their students, but also for teachers in the whole instructional process. They were very pleased to hear that we had invested in technology coaches and that those people are going to be able to come alongside the teachers. So that was a big positive. What made me very happy was they realized that this is an evolution, not a revolution, and that it's going to be a change for them, it's going to be a change for their kids, and it's going to be a change for the teachers. And if I heard it once, I heard it a dozen times last night. Oh yeah, we'll figure that out, or so they really understand that and how that's going to go. It was a very positive event. I could not be more proud of all the work the technology coaches are putting in place in the District Technology Committee. They've been putting in some very long days the past couple of weeks getting everything ready. And as I said to the parents, we may not have thought of everything, but we're darn close. And for those things that we may have missed, can't for the life of me figure out what that is at this point, but we'll hit them as they come. So it was very positive. For those people who missed that event, it is posted there's a YouTube channel that the district has, and there's a shortened version, a 24-minute version of me presenting on the exact same information. And we've had, I think, to date, I can't even see that, if it's approximately 150 people who've already watched that. So we've been able to get to a lot of people, and I was also heartened to see that the students were in the audience last night, so gave them a few marching orders before they get them rolled out on the 4th and the 8th. So we're looking forward to it, and we're ready to go. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
No other reports. At this point, it looks like non-agenda related public forums. Anyone here wants to talk about anything? I'm not seeing anybody. Agenda-related public forum, and nobody's here for that either. At this point, consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or as discussed at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. So far, I've got number 8 and number 10. Are there anybody else? No. All right, so then our consent agenda would be, board will consider approval of minutes. Number 1, minutes of July 29, 2015 regular board meeting. Number 2, minutes of July 29, 2015 executive session of regular board meeting. Number 3, minutes of August 5th, 2015 special board meeting. Number 4, minutes of August 5th, 2015 executive session of special board meeting. Number 5, minutes of August 12th, 2015 regular board meeting. Number 6, minutes of August 12th, 2015 executive session of regular board meeting. Number 7, bills payable. Number 9, academic standards and assessments for 2015-16. Number 11, reduction of the district's contribution to the health reimbursement arrangement amount due to projected implications of the Cadillac Plan excise tax. And number 12, language modifications to policy 223.31 rule, retirement for administrators and administrative staff.
So moved.
Second?
Call the vote, please.
Dito,
Aye.
Eliason,
Aye.
Evans,
Aye.
Garner,
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
Ledberger,
Aye.
Olmsted.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Number 8, these would be individually considered resolutions. Number 8, A, be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve the appointments, resignations, and salary schedule as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, you asked, I have this pulled, Dr. Herzog.
I did. Since I've joined the board, I always look at these resolutions on personnel with mixed feelings, because I know that the people who are resigning and retiring have contributed greatly to the growth of our students, and so I'm always sorry to see them go, but on the other hand, it's always exciting to see new people joining the district. So for those who are resigning or retiring, I just extend a thank you, and to those who are being appointed, I say welcome to our district. We're glad to have you.
Any other discussion on this?
I was going to ask for this to be pulled too, but since it's already done, I was just going to do it now. And just a clarification, because I believe I do know the answer, but if we do know somebody personally on that hiring list, that does not present any
Conflict of
problem, yeah.
interest or anything? You can still vote on it.
And as long as they're not first level, first degree relative.
Yeah, family.
That's the family, that's the only issue.
That's what I had thought, but I just wanted to be sure.
Good question, though.
That's cool, James.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Eliason,
Aye.
Evans,
Aye.
Garner,
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
Ledberger,
Aye.
Olmsted,
Aye.
Dito,
Aye.
motion carried.
Resolution 10. Be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve the superintendent goals for the 2015-16 school year as follows. Number 1, implementation of the Oshkosh Area School District strategic plan. Number 2, completion of the 2016-17 Oshkosh Area School District budget adjustment process. 3, prepare, plan, and inform the Oshkosh Area Schools community for an April 2016 referendum election in preparation for the 16-17 school year, as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education on August 26, 2015, in accordance with the rules, regulations, and policies of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
I had asked that this one be pulled. Most board members have the anniversary of their date of joining the board in the month of April. Mine happens to be in August because I was appointed to the board 2 years ago. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting and feel a bit nostalgic, I guess, tonight, because I consider it to be such a privilege and an honor to have served the students and the staff in this community in this capacity for the last 2 years. Sometimes I'm asked, how do I feel about serving on the board? And my answer is always the same. I have great respect for everybody who was on the board when I joined, and I have great respect for every board member at this time. I really think it's a blessing and a privilege to serve on a good board. And in reading over some of the policies related to the board, I see that the board, there's still language in there that goes back probably to the 1990s related to the board seeking continuous improvement. So in that spirit, I would probably describe the boards as good, and I believe there's potential to be great boards. And I think there are some good ways to do that that we can, and I can work on. One is that we continue to emphasize student learning as a board. That's really what we're here for, and that was certainly the message on Monday when several of us, many in the district, attended the session with Eric Jensen. And then at yesterday's convocation, when the executive team gave short, concise, meaningful, up-to-date reports on what they have been working on. Another area where I think we have to be cognizant is development of policies and reviewing those implementations. I've found that attending Wisconsin Association of School Board workshops to be very meaningful, and I learn a great deal from those as well as from you and people in the system. One of those areas, obviously, is the subject of this particular resolution tonight on the superintendent goals, and it is addressed in Policy 225 and in Exhibit 225A. Exhibit 225A states that the goals should be, it doesn't say must, but they should be in the form of SMART goals, that is strategic and specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. That policy also states that the goals have to be adopted, that's a must be adopted by September 1st, which we are doing tonight. I would like to see us, in the spirit of that 225 Exhibit A, make sure that we put these in the form of strategic goals so that we outline what are the due dates, what are the ways we're measuring progress to those goals. So that was one of the reasons I had asked that this be pulled. The other reason was, and maybe it's just confusion on my part, it has to do with the financial implications. As stated previously, we had given high marks to the superintendent in terms of his attainment of the goals for 2014-15. I was confused, though, that the I think it's called a bonus performance compensation covers a 2-year period rather than a 1-year period. I don't know if that was is the standard practice or if that was an error. My question on that is, assuming that Mr. Mack will attain the 15-16 goals, then would that mean there would be 2 compensation incentives provided in year 2? So those were the questions I had regarding this particular resolution.
I can respond to the, in the superintendent's contract, it provides for one performance for
Okay.
each, for the year, and not per goal either. So,
Yes,
but,
all 3 for 1.
Yes, 3 for 1.
So is the intent, is this correct then in Section 5 that there would be a compensation adjustment in both year 1 and year 2, which I'm assuming then would be 15-16 and 16-17? Or was that only supposed to be in year 1?
It is clear to me that it's only in each year for consideration, and so that would be for the at this time next year for the 15-16 school year.
Okay, so I'm still confused. Maybe I'm too nostalgic tonight. Year 2, so that should those numbers be 0, or should that be the number that we see entered in, the number that we do see in there?
We can certainly take it under advisement. Having a conversation ahead of time would have been helpful to clarify the issue. So.
Well, I'd like to know what the number is before I vote on it.
It's one.
Year 1 would be this coming school year or for this year?
Right. We're, well, I'm not picking up the year 1 section.
I think she's asking here,
Here?
1 and 2.
Oh.
There's compensation of 10,000 in both years. But the assumption is that
It's-
you
it's-
still have to
yeah,
fulfill the goals for
fulfill
each
the-
year.
Yeah, for each year, so, yeah. And,
It's in there, but it's not necessarily going to be given to him unless he provides those goals. So it's in
Sure.
there as a more conservative estimate.
You can, we can delete, from a standpoint of the year out would be the following year beyond. But if it helps with clarifying, year 1, year 2, from a standpoint of estimating the future, we're not committing to year 2 at this time, other than because those goals haven't been generated, but it asks for a projection of costs into the future, just like we do on all budgetary items. So the year 1 is all that's being handled this year. We have yet to determine year 2
Okay.
goals, which will be the beginning of that. But in each of these budget impact, we always carry out what is the rollover cost of that. If I'm continuing in your employment and I have established goals for the 16-17 year, the implication would be that there'd be another 10,000 unless we modify the superintendent's
Okay.
contract in a new negotiation.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions, discussion?
And I should note the fact that we did not include the specific cost of each of those goals, because as we bring forth to the board a contract for the variant consulting, for whether it's a strategic planner, that will have a cost related to it, that's a separate. We have put in the budget estimates of what a strategic planner will cost. We have put into the budget what we expect that the consultants on doing a survey about the probability of election success. We've built that into the budget, and when we come back to the board, each of those items will be enunciated as a separate cost item, as well as the conducting of school district election. We deal with the preparation. The blessing that the board has is being able to combine with the general election date on the 5th of April, so that doesn't have a separate cost to it.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Evans?
Aye.
Gardner?
Aye.
Herzog?
Aye.
Lundberger?
Aye.
Olmsted?
Aye.
Vito?
Aye.
Eliason?
Aye.
Motion carries.
At this time, request for future agenda items. I'd just like to bring mine up again from last meeting, which is I would like to see some sort of report. Doesn't necessarily have to be a workshop or something on how that, in the next few weeks, how that this all played out this year with the bus transportation stuff, registration process. I know that we've moved much more to a online registration format as well. We've been integrating that for a few years now. I'd just like a report if possible on that, and any kind of hiccups, any kind of suggestions for making it smooth transition, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, we're really encouraged by what we're seeing initially with the transportation issues. Sue, we could even do a very, the communication and the technology with Cobuson and the technology person they employed, who actively communicates with our transportation folks, have been marvelous, as well as with our technology folks, and we're really encouraged by what's happening in the operation. So, Sue?
We have been really encouraged. Cobus and Bus changed to a different software plan. Part of the issues we had last year was the software program that we had was would crash every time we would do an upload from Infinite Campus. It wasn't an Infinite Campus problem, it was the software problem. And Cobuson as a corporation had a hard time helping because we were the only hub that had that particular software. So what we did over the course of the last year is we changed software. Cobuson now holds the license. We don't hold the license, they do. And they purchased a software program that all of their hubs use. So if there's any issues, they have people in other branch offices that know how to use the software. The software's been much more responsive than the previous software have been. Plus, they also hired a full-time person that all that person does is program and work with the Infinite Campus conversion over to, it's called TransFinder is the name of the software. We actually got postcards out to families
Yep.
Like a week
I
ago.
got mine.
Some of them were incorrect. Some of them still needed to be updated, but at least we got the information out to families. And I think there was even a caveat on there that this could possibly change. And so now cards are going out again. I think they are going out tomorrow. So people should have them in their mailboxes Saturday, at the last, Monday, but hopefully by Saturday, people will have updated cards.
With school starting on Tuesday, that gives a little margin.
But I was just encouraged that we sent something out like a week ago already, whereas families are used to not getting that until a couple days before. And our ultimate goal is to be able to have that information on the Infinite Campus portal so that they can just look up what their bus numbers are. Currently, if someone has a transfer bus, there's not a place in Infinite Campus for that, and we're working with them to possibly be able to put that kind of information out there so parents can look at that. As soon as we have it available, they can look at it.
And the preliminary runs were based on what we knew on registrations and home addresses as reported as of about August 10th, or August 1st. And Dave, do you recall how many address changes we've had in the last 30 days?
Several hundred. Several hundred in the
And
past
because
weeks.
in the last week, because when you add an address and a new home and a new pickup, that alters everyone around
Right,
that schedule,
yeah.
and that becomes part of the issue that we're dealing with.
It isn't
So-
until registration and we get this close that parents are truly in tune and we get a lot of that information. So
So it's coordinating, but I can tell you that every morning I stop by to see Jane Matthey, and she is smiling this year. And every morning we have a conversation. Every morning we have a conversation about how it's going, and there hasn't been a morning where she hasn't been smiling. So that's good.
I won't say there won't be any hiccups because the first day of school, something always, isn't quite 100% perfect, but I anticipate it going much smoother than the last 2 years.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, sir.
But we'll still make a formal report both on registration and how it went after the fact. We're only in projections now. So-
Well, I would have been remiss. Last year, I was saddened by all the problems that were going on, the software crash, the last minute, information out to the parents, and as a father of small children, of course, this affected me as well, but it's just right for our community. I'm heartened to hear that, we got out the things a week ago, which is light years better than what has been happening, so these are all good things.
Sure.
Other ideas for requests for future agenda items? Barbara?
I would like to see the superintendent goals brought back to the entire board, perhaps after the leadership team and Mr. Mack have worked on those to present those as SMART goals so that we know what we're measuring and what we're looking for.
Okay. Other items for future agenda? Announcements. Anybody have any announcements?
Yeah, just a quick one. It seems like every time I am in the car listening to radio, there's something on education. It must be this time of year. But on the way over here, whatever shows on public radio from 5 to 6, they had a program on a case study of what Act 10 and their impact on the Milwaukee public schools and surrounding area. And the 20 minutes I listened to it sounded really interesting. So, if you want to look for it offline.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, I certainly did. I've been hearing things too as well. I don't know if anybody else has been seeing reports about the upper Midwest in general is having a heck of a time finding educators, administrators. Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin are just really having a hard time because of some of these legislative things. Other announcements? I'd just like to say briefly congratulations to the community and Oshkosh Corp for their securing a 20-year contract, $30 billion, which should definitely help not only our community but surrounding communities. At this time, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Carter,
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
Hamburger,
Aye.
Olmsted,
Aye.
Zito,
Aye.
Eliason,
Hi.
Evans.
Hi.
We are adjourned.